What's up? Week 6 recap. If you're really sharp, you notice that there's someone else with me. This is my friend Elon. Elon and I don't believe you were in any of their recaps last year. You could have been and I forgot.
Maybe one.
Elon and I do the recaps for our league. And we've done recaps for other leagues in the past. For this league, it's been a solo mission. But this week, I'm staying at his place. So he will weigh in on some of these matchups. So with that being said, which as you know is my most common term when I'm doing these videos, let's jump into the matchups. So the first matchup we have is between Team El Captain getting the win 163 to 145 over Professor S. Some context for Elon. Professor S, I believe, dominated last year and was one of my top preseason picks to be a strong team, but a lot of bad luck has struck him, and this week is no exception. 145 points, pretty solid point total, but getting the loss, unfortunately, after a, again, solid week. So for him, what went wrong? You know Antonio Gibson. He did come in with a bit of an injury, so it was a risk, but you rolled him out. Didn't really come through for you. And then Pittman. I'm going to let you talk on Pittman because Pittman is your guy in our league. What do you think is going on with Pittman? Do you think he's a startable wide receiver for the rest of the season?
Yeah. Can you remind me how many teams are in this league?
10.
10. Okay, for 10 teams leagues, I would say you probably want someone better as your starting wide receiver.
And there's 3 wide receivers and the flex, so wide receiver's a bit thinner.
Oh, gotcha. So there are 3 wide receivers, then it does make sense. Yeah, I think Pittman's, if you look at his targets over the last few weeks, they've been pretty good. This past week, from my understanding, it was not very high. T.Y. took away a lot of those targets, but Michael Pittman is still going to be that top receiver, in my opinion, in Indianapolis. So matchup dependent, I think he is probably fine going forward. Maybe get you, 5 catches, 60 yards at least a game.
Yeah, I think for this team, it might be too late at 1-5, but I try and say never say never, and it's a longer season than ever before. There are things to work with this team. I think you'd agree with, especially this RB depth. There's no studs. That's why this is a shorter team, because the ceiling for these a lower team in the standings, because the ceiling for these running backs are not super high. But he's being scrappy to get himself some options with Darrell Williams this week. And then on the bench, you see a bunch of guys who are just like middle of the road. Damian Williams would be coming back hopefully soon. He's going to be an option. Melvin Gordon, an average option. Elijah Mitchell, I'm pretty high on. Average option, Javonte Williams. There's a lot going on. I would think this is a team that could benefit from a trade and got to do that trade now, if anything. Would you agree?
Yeah. Looking at this team, yeah, I think so.
Okay, so let's mark this team as probably out of the picture, but you never know. You might be a move or two away from being back in it. Whereas El Captain gets a much-needed win, goes to 2-4, 163 points, gigantic week despite Lamar Jackson only getting 12.2. Very disappointing, and I'm actually going to pass it back to you because your boy Jonathan Taylor, who you just traded for in our league, goes off. Do you think there's a sign of things to come?
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan Taylor's schedule going forward, I'm sorry I don't have it right in front of me, but I know one reason I traded him. I traded Dalvin Cook to get him, and I got one other guy, so I got Taylor and Damian Williams. But Jonathan Taylor's schedule going forward is incredible. He got the Texans. He gets, I know he gets Jacksonville. He gets New York Jets. He gets the 49ers, I think. So overall, Jonathan Taylor has not only been getting more volume, and he's also, I think, second in the league in goal line carries, but he has really good opponents coming up. So I really like Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot. This is a top-heavy team that has a lot of talent. In the mid-season rankings I told you about, I gave this team the 9th overall team as far as strength of the roster. But right now, with Hubbard stepping up for McCaffrey, you got yourself obviously great wide receivers, but you also got Mike Davis coming off a bye. You got Felton, who's going to be a starter next week, and you got Pitts coming back off a bye. This is a team that could slowly creep up at 2-4. This is a team that could get themselves back in the mix of things. So curious to see if El Captain could make this a trend. The next matchup, Pain Train, with a really tight win, 176-171 over Livin' La Vida Yoda. 2 teams that I like a lot, but what happens when there's 2 really good teams? Who has the number 1 guy, and who had the number 1 guy? Pain Train, Derrick Henry, the top fantasy option as of right now in any league. Absolutely remarkable option to pair with DeAndre Swift, who is also fantastic as well. Yes, do I have concerns about this wide receiver group's inconsistencies? I talk about that sometimes. I do. Do you think Amari Cooper, Godwin, and Sutton could be a wide receiver group for a championship winning team?
I would have to see the rest of the teams. I think it's fine considering his talent at running back, and I just saw on the bench he has Clyde Edwards-Helaire too, right? So, I mean, those are 3 really good wide receiver or running back slots.
Mixon too in the
Mixon. Oh my gosh, he is. I mean, he must have the best running backs in the league. I mean, can that be confirmed? DeAndre Swift and Derrick Henry, and then obviously Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Joe Mixon. I mean, yes, with those players and Justin Herbert, who, by the way, probably could have massive games going forward. 12 points is pretty much an anomaly for him. Mm-hmm. So I think with that wide receiver position, considering his running back position, it can be a championship team. Yes.
I want you to guess where I ranked this team in my 1/3 season rankings last week or 2 weeks ago.
I have to go number 1.
They were actually number 5.
Oh wow.
Believe it or not, number 5.
I have not seen any other teams.
Because of the wide receiver group. But again, this is a team that if that running back group could be so incredible that to the levels we're seeing right now, it can make up for an average wide receiver group. So let's see the teams that I ranked above them. You want to take a guess? Actually, don't even take a guess. I'm just going to tell you. Livin Leviota was one of them. Despite not a great record, I was very high on Livin Leviota's team. But what happened this week? First of all, 171 despite the challenges this week. First round of applause to you. What were the challenges this week? He had Alvin Kamara on a bye, Cordarrelle Patterson on a bye. And that will essentially change the way your team looks. Had to start Devontae Booker, who I don't really like as a starter this time around, and that's what made the difference. If he gets one of those running backs back, they give him the week you expect. Yeah. He's going to get that 16 points. He's going to win it. Also, very disappointing that Hollywood Brown's drop in the end zone cost him the matchup as well. I will say this team also has naturally regressed a little bit in what I would currently do as my rankings. But I think for a 2-4 team, I think especially when you're getting your guys back, there is a lot to be excited about, especially as you see Jalen Hurts getting you production, even in off weeks on the football field. Do you think that this team could still make a playoff run even though they're 2-4?
Yeah, I mean 2-4 is tough to come back from. I think they can.
Okay, I appreciate the insights. So next up is an upset from where I'm sitting, although record-wise, not a massive upset. Studs playing each other. TBD at 4-1 goes to 5-1, and Team Glory Hole first loss of the season. It was 184 to 162. TBD, a lot of good going on. You don't even know where to start, but pretty consistent across the team. Mahomes gets him a week you'd expect. Josh Jacobs cashes in a way that you would hope, given his kind of up and down season so far. But I think the real guy shining for his team is Damian Harris. If Damian Harris could get you 20 plus weeks, that's what takes this team from one level to the next. And to be in conversations with teams like Team Glory Hole, which I think is the number 1 team in the league still, the only way you're going to beat him is these kind of weeks at running back. So do you think this running back group, given the other running back groups we've been talking about, can this carry a team to a championship as well?
No, I don't think so. Damian Harris hasn't been very consistent this year. We know Patriots use different running backs. Damian Harris got a touchdown last game, which obviously helped his production massively. Josh Jacobs also got a touchdown, helping his production. Kenyon Drake was more involved, so I don't love his running back slots that much. In terms of for championship potential or his wide receiver slot, just looking through that.
So tell me if you agree with me then that despite this game, Glory Hole still sits atop the top of the league. So what I love about Glory Hole is everything. Every single position is stacked. So quarterback, Dak Prescott. Running backs, Aaron Jones, Kareem Hunt this week. Kareem Hunt gets injured, but I remember he had depth. So let's look at that depth. Where is the depth? Where's the depth? Wow. Where's the depth? Okay, maybe I guess that was all of his depth. Miles Sanders is not looking great. Kareem Hunt was the guy I was high on. That actually does impact the team. But look at this wide receiver group. Justin Jefferson, Scary Terry, DJ Moore, Mark Andrews at tight end. Then you also get Jamar Chase at wide receiver. In a league that's so thin at wide receiver because there's 3 wide receivers and a flex in this PPR league, I love that wide receiver group. It's definitely something to admire. And then you get Deebo Samuel coming back, who you're going to start. You get Hawkinson coming back. Which tight end do you start? I just think there's a lot going on with this team. So given Kareem Hunt's injury, and me now realizing that running back was the only position where depth was a little bit more of a concern, you get to go Miles Sanders, a fine option. Do you think that takes this team down to the same level as TBD? Do you still think Glory Hole is better than TBD? Tell me your insights.
Yeah, I would say TBD is a little bit better than Team Glory Hole. I know Dak Prescott had a better week than Mahomes, but I think Mahomes kind of puts him over the top, and I like TBD's running back group, even though I said I didn't love it. I still like it better than Team Glory Hole. I guess the wide receiver slot is tough, but they make up for it with Travis Kelce. I mean, Travis Kelce is going to get you a lot of points every week compared to I had TJ Hawkinson, and he's been really inconsistent.
This Kareem Hunt injury is really tough. I'm still going to keep Glory Hole at the top, but that's tough. That's tough. We'll see what happens next week if this is going to impact his positioning at the top of the league from my perspective. I have been really tough on one team in this league all season, and it's Team the Prophet. They do get another loss to go to 0-6. Yes, deep down I am kind of happy because that's what I said. But I want to ask you, do you think there's any hope with this team? I'm going to read you the team, and you let me know your thoughts. Kirk Cousins at quarterback. Eckler and Pollard at running back. Sanders, Odell, A.J. Brown at wide receiver. In the flex, a very good Jacoby Myers. And when you look towards the bench, there isn't much help. I added a little subjectivity in there, but you tell me, is this a team that, is there even any hope that this team could make a run?
No, I mean, look, if Zeke gets hurt, then maybe, because then you have those really good potential games from Tony Pollard. It's just been really disappointing because Odell Beckham, we thought, would have a pretty good year coming to the season. He hasn't been good, at least at this juncture. And I feel bad for Austin Eckler because Austin Eckler is not going to be on a championship team in this league. And Austin Eckler is a championship running back. But no, I don't think there's any chance.
Okay, yeah, but on the flip side of that, Team the Chairman, a very middle-of-the-road team that has slowly been climbing up my internal power rankings from good play from his top guys. Specifically the running back group, Zeke and Darrell Henderson coming through. Diggs has the week you need from him. You get concerning weeks from Mike Evans and Mike Williams, but I still think that you're in a good situation with them. I think this team has really emerged with a good starting lineup. I just have issues with the depth, and that's kind of been my critique with this team all season. I don't think there's anyone on the bench that is startable. From my perspective, Tony, if you didn't get the injury, maybe, but you lose the potential hope there. So how does that impact the team when you have good starters that could compete against the best of them, but you don't have depth?
You really just have to keep signing players and hope that one of them stands out and plays better. I mean, that's been my strategy. The Tony injury sucks. I really like this starters though. Oh my god, this is a really good team.
It's a very good starting team. It's I've been internally pretty torn because I'm also pretty low on Mike Evans and not as high on people as other people as Mike Williams, but I mean, it's hard to ignore the fact that there's no real hole on this team. When I'm critiquing those receivers, I mean, I'm critiquing wide receiver 2 and 3. These are good wide receiver 2s and 3s. So, yeah, this is a team that could compete. I agree with you on the depth piece. The final matchup is between Team Crucifier beating Sons of Chaos 166-158. For your information, Crucifier was my number 2 team a couple weeks ago, and I'm still very high on this team. In fact, this team is a competitor, in my eyes, to win it all. The issues with this team is that he has a very big investment in the Seattle wide receiver group. With Russell Wilson's injury, you feel the pain that Metcalf and Lockett have felt having Geno as a quarterback. Do you think this is going to set this team back? And do you think there's anyone on his bench that could take their spot? And on the bench, you have McKinnon, you have Josh Gordon, you have Chase Edmonds, you have Tyler Boyd, and then, of course, Ridley's going to be coming in either way. But you'd imagine that Chase Claypool is probably the next guy to see the bench instead of DK or Lockett, right?
Yeah. Calvin Ridley is going to be huge for him coming back. And he's been pretty disappointing this year. I do need to kind of wrap my head around this as a 10-team league because this team also looks really good. I mean, on paper, Cooper Kupp, Calvin Ridley, and DK Metcalf are incredibly strong wide receivers. And from my understanding, his running back slot's pretty good. Oh, yeah, he's Dalvin Cook, right? And then Khalil Herbert had a really good week. We'll see if that lasts. So, yeah, kind of have to wrap my head around that. But you put him at number 2, right? I mean, I could see why.
Yeah. I think the question is who are you going to bench at wide receiver? I would guess Claypool is that guy who's going to see the bench. But I'd be very interested to see if you think that benching one of the Seattle wide receivers is a better option. For Sons of Chaos, it was also another team that I put kind of in the middle of things. And I think you could also probably see why. But you could also see that since then, Fournette has really established himself as an RB1. So my question to you is, does this team continue climbing up your rankings as a competitor amongst the other teams that we're talking about?
I'm concerned about Robert Woods. Fournette, I don't think is going to be as good going forward, even though he's been really good so far. I think it's still a middle of the pack team, to be honest. Looking at it, maybe I should be higher on Leonard Fournette. I'm still not super high on him. James Robinson, I like a lot as a running back, but he's just not in a good enough offense. Yeah,
I think going to 3-3, middle of the pack, is basically what summarizes it. Fringe playoff team could make a run, maybe, but most likely looking outside, looking in. But we will keep an eye out to see how those teams do. I hope you enjoyed additional insights from a new perspective. We'll be back next week with another recap. So wishing everyone the best next week, and we'll talk soon.